They're not ringing the bell on Wall Street, but some of the biggest American corporations are quietly making their way to Canada. Whether it's tax incentives, shifting politics, or something deeper, the mainstream media isn't covering it, but we are. Stick around, because the companies on this list will shock you, and the reasons behind their move even more. Number 6. Coca-Cola. Who would have thought that America's favorite soda brand would ghost the US like a bad breakup? Coca-Cola, the red and white symbol of summer days, baseball games, and backyard cookouts, is subtly slipping across the northern border. No grand announcements, no farewell press tour, just like that, a new packaging facility appears in Ontario, and supply deals for aluminum are signed in Quebec. Why? Because tariffs hit US aluminum imports hard, and Coca-Cola saw its can costs skyrocket. Faced with either losing billions or finding a loophole, they took the second option: head north and stay quiet. And this isn't just about aluminum cans. Jobs at US factories are evaporating like the last can in your fridge. Prices at home are climbing, and before you know it, your patriotic bottle of Coke might read, "Made in Canada." If Coca-Cola, the symbol of American culture, is leaving for better financial deals, who's next? Ford? McDonald's? Maybe even Katy Perry? Stay tuned. This rabbit hole dives much deeper than fizzy drinks and summer nostalgia. Number 5. General Motors. Once the crown jewel of Detroit and the muscle behind America's industrial dominance, GM was once thought to be untouchable. Maybe your grandfather worked at a GM plant, your uncle drove a Chevy, and every Thanksgiving, someone at the table had a GM paycheck story. But in 2025, that iconic legacy is peeling away, like rust on a forgotten truck. And no one seems to be sounding the alarm. You'd expect a titan like GM to go out swinging, but spoiler alert, they're not swinging. They're shifting, quietly, deliberately, north. While Americans are still trying to understand why cars now cost $7,000 more than they did just a few years ago, GM is playing a long-term game of chess in Ontario. And this isn't some dramatic exit, it's death by 1,000 strategic moves. Step 1. The parts. GM can't make cars in isolation. It needs an intricate network of thousands of components and suppliers. But once the tariffs landed like a sledgehammer, those parts became 3 times as expensive. By mid-2025, the US imposed a 50% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum, turning GM's entire supply system into a financial sinkhole. Raising car prices isn't like nudging up the cost of a soda. Nobody impulse buys a $40,000 vehicle. So when demand dried up, GM adjusted course and quietly said, "Let's see what Canada has to offer." First warning sign. An explosion of investment in Canada, over $2.6 billion since 2020. Seems harmless, right? But that includes a massive expansion into electric vehicles. In St. Catharines, they're now building EV drive units. Over in Bécancour, Quebec, they've dropped more than $1 billion into a new CAM battery facility in partnership with POSCO. That's not diversification, that's a full-blown relocation plan. Meanwhile, in the US, GM plants are either reducing operations or closing altogether. In April 2025, the CAMI assembly plant in Ingersoll laid off around 1,200 workers just to retool for upcoming models. Translation: we're shutting down, for now. Maybe we'll bring you back later. Spoiler again, they usually don't. And it gets even more eye-opening. As US facilities stall, GM is rapidly hiring in Ontario and Quebec, high-skilled roles in EV technology, automation, and smart manufacturing. Want to know where GM's next innovation hub is? Hint: it's no longer in Michigan. Don't be misled by upbeat CEO interviews. On paper, GM is still pro-America. But on the ground, every dollar being spent in Canada is one less being invested in Detroit or Flint. The damage isn't just industrial, it's personal. With each contract moved, each factory downsized, entire towns begin to fade. Local shops close, schools shrink, property values drop. Hope disappears, fast. Here's the truth. This isn't about politics. It's numbers, logistics, survival. If Canada offers cheaper, faster manufacturing with fewer hurdles, why would GM stick with the chaos of the US market? Sure, GM cars still gleam under dealership lights in places like Texas or Ohio. But the brains, the batteries, the breakthroughs? More and more of that is happening in Canada. It's not betrayal, it's business. And if GM, the symbol of American automotive pride, is moving out, imagine how quickly smaller firms will follow. Your next, American-made, vehicle might be rolling off a Canadian assembly line. And when that day comes, America doesn't just lose a company. It loses an icon. Shocked? That was just the beginning? Hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe, because the next name to go might be even bigger. Number 4. Alcoa Corporation. You're not seeing headlines. You're not hearing sirens. But the shift is happening, quietly, 1 ton at a time. The aluminum in your soda cans, cars, planes, appliances, and skyscrapers? More and more, it's being stamped, made in Canada. And behind that aluminum is Alcoa, a company that's been the spine of American industry for over 100 years. And now, they're ghosting the US, and barely anyone's noticing. This isn't just about relocating a factory or trimming costs. It's a slow, intentional breakup. In 2025, Alcoa got hit by a perfect storm: surging electricity prices, aging US smelters, and a harsh 25% tariff on aluminum imports, imposed by the US itself. Sounds backwards, right? Welcome to the industrial mess we're in. So, what did Alcoa do? They headed north. No loud press release. No big announcement. Just one port in Houston slowing down, while another in Montreal quietly fires up. One night shift cut in Texas, a few more trucks humming through Quebec. A $1 billion smelter upgrade in Baie-Comeau was put on pause, but their hydroelectric power deal? Extended through 2040. That's not just a hint, that's a whole billboard. Let's get real, aluminum isn't glamorous, it doesn't go viral. But it's in everything. And when Alcoa slows down, industries across the US get the chills. Automakers, tech companies, soda brands, construction, all of them depend on that metal. And if it's suddenly coming from Canada? The economic fallout is immediate, like a TikTok post vanishing before you can hit save. And it's already hitting. Towns built around smelters are laying people off. Miners are left waiting for shipments that aren't coming. Truck drivers are being told their runs are cancelled, not because demand's gone, but because the supply now comes from Quebec. Alcoa has even said so, in investor calls and earnings statements that no average person reads. In Q1 of 2025, Alcoa reported a $20 million hit from tariffs. They projected a $90 million loss in Q2 just from increased costs of aluminum and steel. That's not a paper cut, it's a punch to the gut. And they've made it clear, those idled US smelters? Not coming back online anytime soon. Translation: it's cheaper to make aluminum in Canada and ship it back to the US than to produce it locally. And let's not overlook the real game changer, Canada's energy deals. Quebec is offering 2,100 megawatts of hydroelectric power, locked in through 2040. That's enough energy to power a small country, and now, it's melting down bauxite to feed Alcoa's operations. So what's the bottom line? Every ton of aluminum made up north is one less job in Kentucky. One less shift in Texas. One more diner turning off the lights early. This isn't a sudden collapse. It's a slow fade. One day, you'll look around and realize, it's all gone. And don't be fooled into thinking this is a temporary move. Companies don't spend billions, sign decade-long power deals, and shut US plants just to test the waters. Alcoa's future is being forged in Canadian furnaces, not American ones. So next time you crack open a cold drink, check under the hood of a car, or admire a glass tower downtown, ask yourself, is that shine made in America, or is it Canadian glow in disguise? Because Alcoa isn't waiting around. They've already loaded the trucks and hit the road. They haven't made headlines on Wall Street, but some of America's largest corporations are discreetly relocating to Canada. Whether it's for tax relief, political trends, or something even more fundamental, the mainstream media is silent, but we're not. Keep watching, because these names will astonish you, and the motives behind them even more. Number 3. Campbell Soup. Imagine soup picking up and leaving the US. Sounds wild, right? Yet Campbell, that comforting bowl in the red and white can that's been a staple in pantries forever, is quietly taking its cans north. This isn't a fading 90s label. It's a powerhouse food company fed up with skyrocketing costs and chaotic policies. The hard truth? Over 90% of Campbell's offerings are packaged in aluminum. So when the US imposed a hefty 25% tariff on Canadian aluminum and then pushed prices even higher, it didn't just change regulations, it crushed affordable packaging. Campbell doesn't produce aluminum, they purchase it. When supplier costs surge, that expense lands in your shopping cart. And for their customers, many of whom are living paycheck to paycheck, even a 10-cent markup per can could send them to cheaper alternatives, or make them skip soup altogether. Faced with the choice to raise prices and risk alienating loyal fans or to relocate production somewhere with lower material costs, reliable energy, and stable pricing, they quietly opted for the latter. No flashy press conference. No grand commercials, just a silent shift. Packaging deals transferring to Ontario, and job openings popping up in Toronto and London. It's not a sprint, but it's not headed south. And this isn't merely a change in canning location. The impact runs deep. That little red and white can in your cupboard supports a chain of businesses, from label printers in Ohio to carrot growers in Michigan and truckers in Pennsylvania. When Campbell shifts even part of its operations abroad, whole communities are disrupted. Let's get real about finances. Campbell trimmed its 2025 earnings forecast from 11% to just 6 to 8%. Why? Tariffs, aluminum costs, and rising energy bills. Meanwhile, Canada is turning heads with affordable hydroelectric power, business-friendly policies, and tariff stability. Montreal's ports are bustling while US plants shrink or sit idle. Houston's aluminum traffic is lagging, Canada's is surging. Number 2. Tesla. The company that once shouted "Made in America" is now quietly whispering "En français," drawing up blueprints in Ontario. Tesla, the four-wheel electric juggernaut, isn't just moving vehicles. It's shifting borders, rewriting engineering maps, and no one seems to care. This isn't a PR stunt or an Elon Musk meme, it's calculated strategy. In 2025, Tesla realized that US power grids are struggling, utility bills are soaring faster than their stock once did, and federal policies around massive factories feel like roulette. So instead of complaining, they adjusted. Enter Ontario and Quebec. Clean energy, check. Consistent hydroelectric rates, check. Streamlined approvals and access to battery-grade lithium, graphite, and rare earths, absolutely. While US projects get bogged down in review delays, Tesla's Canadian operations are quietly advancing from design to production with clockwork precision. Take Markham, for instance. That isn't just a trivia factory. It's emerging as the nerve center of Tesla automation. Hundreds of postings for engineers, roboticists, and software experts, none of it up in Elon's Twitter feed. Blink, and the bots building Teslas won't be in Texas, they'll be in the Toronto suburbs. Over in Quebec, it goes even deeper. Tesla is building a full ecosystem, from mining lithium to manufacturing battery cells. And they're not alone. Canada has committed $52.5 billion to a federal-provincial battery development plan, practically begging Tesla to settle north. Meanwhile, in the US, power outages, unexplained utility spikes, sluggish grid development. You can't build tomorrow's tech if today's lights keep flickering off. Sure, Tesla claims it's all expansion, not retreat, but here's the kicker. Where Tesla plants roots, industries follow, AI firms, chipmakers, solar tech developers. It's all part of the package. And the data backs it up. In 2025, Tesla deliveries in Quebec dropped 87% due to frozen rebates and retaliatory tariffs. But they're still doubling down on Canadian investment. That's not chasing sales, it's planting roots. While American headlines argue over EV incentives and union fights, Canada handed Tesla a shovel and said, "Go build. Less talk, more action." What does this mean? It means the company once symbolizing U.S. tech dominance is now securing its future beyond U.S. borders, quietly, line by line, wire by wire, robot by robot. The Cybertruck you're building up might roll off a Canadian line instead of Texas. Your next advanced solar inverter or AI-powered battery module? Tesla isn't abandoning America. It's hedging its future with rational logic and Canadian contracts. And doing it quietly should concern everyone. The future isn't just under construction, it's relocating. Number 1. Ford. Once the automaker that revolutionized global mobility, Ford is now steering in another direction entirely, and spoiler alert, it's not toward Michigan. The icon of American muscle and blue-collar pride has dropped billions in Canada. That's right, back in 2024, Ford quietly invested $2.3 billion in Oakville, Ontario. Not Detroit. Not Ohio. Not even Texas. The goal? Manufacture more of their top-selling, high-profit F-Series Super Duty trucks right in Canada's backyard. While the gas versus electric debate grew, Ford was redrawing the manufacturing map, silently. Originally, Oakville was slated for electric SUVs. But as hype cooled and battery prices rose, Ford pivoted. Electric ambitions are delayed until 2027. For now, they're doubling down on gas-powered trucks. Why? Because Ontario gives them faster, cheaper, smoother production, and it runs on 90% clean hydroelectric power. Let's get this straight. This isn't Ford abandoning America, it's Ford optimizing its operations. With U.S. plants struggling, energy costs skyrocketing, and labor talks dragging, Canada stepped in with $500 million in incentives as a welcome package. Ontario offered land, power, and tax breaks, and Ford said, "We'll take it." The result? 1,800 new Canadian jobs, northward supplier contracts, and small U.S. towns watching opportunities drift away. It's a slow industry migration, no dramatic plant closing, but just as damaging. So next time an F-150 thunders down the highway, check its badge. The next generation of American toughness might carry a Canadian lilt. Now, you've seen 6 American giants quietly shifting their empires north. This isn't fear-mongering, it's a wake-up call. Their logos still wave red, white, and blue, but their factories hum to the tune of Canadian power grids. If the core of American industry is packing its bags, what happens next? Stick with us, we're far from done. Subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who still believes made in the USA means what it used to. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.